Amnesty International Nigeria has condemned what it calls an unlawful attempt by security forces to suppress peaceful protests in Abuja, where demonstrators demanded the release of indigenous people of Biafra leader Nnamdi Kanu. The Nigeria police force has defended its actions, saying officers only used tear gas to disperse protesters who tried to march towards the Aso Rock, the seat of the presidency. The group later regrouped in Utako by security operatives again moved in, sparking panic among traders and commuters. In a statement on its official X handle, Amnesty International described the use of force as a violation of freedom and of assembly and evidence of growing intolerance for peaceful dissent. The group urged authorities to end the crackdown and engage protesters through dialogue. Now, Abdulkareem Musa, a human rights lawyer and a litigator, joins us for more on this story. You're welcome, sir. Now, tell us about it all, of course. The protesters held firm, even when the police have been accused of being high-handed in their response to the demonstrators. How do you weigh in on this particular stance?
Well, it's quite unfortunate. It's characteristic of the law enforcement agents in Nigeria to continuously use their powers and use brutal force against Nigerians who peacefully organize themselves in order to project an agenda. It's not the first time it's happening. Nigerians who went out to protest today expected it, and it happened. In fact, it has become a slogan within the human rights community that when you are organizing a protest and you have not, in fact, the tear gas is the evidence that your protest is actually meaningful. If you organize a protest, they have not tear gassed you. That means your protest is not affecting the government in any meaningful way. But it's quite unfortunate because it is evidence of the growing intolerance, just like you said, to dissenting voices. And every time any group of people rises up to make their position known by way of protesting to the Nigerian government, the law enforcement agents are used to attack the people, and undue force are being meted on the people, and it's quite unfortunate that we are still at that level in this country.
Now, can you help us make sense of the restrictions that the police is enforcing in terms of preventing the marches from reaching certain places to the right to assembly and, of course, free movement? Is there a strategy as to why people are being barred from accessing or marching to specific locations?
No, the prevention of people from accessing certain areas is certainly a breach of the fundamental right of the Nigerians, because it is provided clearly in the Constitution, firstly in Section 40, that Nigerians have the right to associate. It is also provided in the same Constitution that Nigerians have the right to movement. And in the same Constitution, Nigerians have the right to express themselves. So I can gather as a people, as an association, we can gather as a people, as an association, with an agenda, in expressing that agenda, and move towards any place in Nigeria that is considered a public area. All the places that the Nigerian police and the law enforcement agent block today are public areas. In fact, even the persons who were not part of the protesters, people who were going about their normal businesses, were obstructed today. Such lack of reasonability in the law enforcement agents is really unfortunate. Who are they really protecting, and what are they really protecting against? Protesters, no single protester was caught with any forceful, harmful object, or portraying themselves or managing themselves in ways that seem to contradict the law. So what is the need for all the force unduly used on the peaceful protesters? So it's just, like I said earlier, a continuous breach of the provisions of the Constitution, a continuous disregard of the rights of Nigerians.
Now, I dare to ask you a question. Right now, of course, we know that the issue in question, or the issue right now, is Nnamdi Kanu. But in your own opinionated view, beyond the case that's pending in court, when you look at the big picture, are you convinced that these are the kind of protests that are needed to draw attention to his case?
Yes, I think that this protest is long overdue. So personally, I want to commend the courage, the boldness, and the doggedness of Mr. Shore for putting up this protest. It is long overdue. This action of the continuous incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu is an assault on the collective and unified consciousness of the Igbo people of Nigeria. The action of Nnamdi Kanu that has led to his incarceration for all these years, for a period not less than 7 to 10 years now, is a lawful action recognized by international treaties like the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. There are several international treaties, like I've mentioned, that empowers a group of people to have the right for self-determination. The right to self-determination is the right that the people have to form a political identity of their own. So it is a right. And it has happened over the years. Even Nigeria became a country because of the right to self-determination. So what Nnamdi Kanu has simply come out to do is to say that I have a people called the Igbo people, the Biafran people, the independent people of Biafra. And we desire or seek some level of respect in this country. We seek some level of participation in the governance of this country. And if we are not going to be granted the opportunity to participate in government, it means that we want our own country. We should be allowed to have our own country and our own political system. That there is nothing wrong in such aspirations. So to incarcerate the man who is leading that movement, in my view, is an assault on the unified consciousness of the Igbo people of Nigeria. And the time is long due for the Igbo people to stamp their feet on the ground and rise to the occasion, not just to leave Mr. Showore and a few other Nigerians to lead this cause. Let us all rise up, because it could be anybody tomorrow. It could be any group of persons tomorrow. We must not allow the narrative to remain the same, that a group of persons in Nigeria, once they speak, can be pressed down, oppressed, and shut down the way Nnamdi Kanu has been shut down over the years.
Now, one more question before I let you go. I want us to talk about effectiveness. And I say this because today being the day that we commemorate the NSARS protest as well, there was a lot of, there was a rise, and hopes and spirits were high, especially during that period. And I think we can see some of the same kind of behavior and patterns right now with the protest that's happening in Abuja. But in terms of effectiveness, in your own calculated and logical view, how effective do you think that the protests that are taking place right now will actually get the desired outcome?
Well, when we talk about effectiveness, if it is effectiveness as to what this protest registers in the mind of Nigeria, then I would score this protest very, very effective. But if it is effectiveness as to how the government will respond, the government has not shown any level of responsibility that would give me the assurance that this protest has the capacity to engender their positive response. But I must say that it is not about what the government does, because the president is just one man. The Senate is just a few group of persons. But the entirety of the Nigerian population must rise up to support this protest. This protest certainly has communicated something to the Nigerian people, that Nigerians are much interested in the liberty of Nnamdi Kanu. So what the government does going forward is left to their conscience and much respect that they have for the Nigerian people who have risen up and how willing they are to ensure that peace reigns in Nigeria. If they could deploy this number of security operatives and law enforcement agents to defend what is unnecessary, then they should channel the same energy into addressing this political issue of Nnamdi Kanu's self-determination.
Mr. Musa, thank you so much for your points. Thank you.